What's going on, everyone? Aaron here with Clean Cuts Lawn Care. So this video has nothing to do with lawn care, so if that's what you thought it was, it's not. This video, hopefully we can beat some rain. This video is hopefully going to help someone save a little bit of money on a vehicle repair, something that my usual mechanic who does my big repairs, I really feel like he tried to rip me off on. So I'm going to show you. This is my 2009 Kia Optima. It actually is the vehicle we used to start our business. And about a month ago, no, sorry, about 3 months ago, the car didn't want to start. Now the starter is right down there in this hole. Okay, there's the two nuts for it right there. It's directly under the intake. All right. So we had to get some welding done on the car. And while it was there, I asked my mechanic, hey man, how much would it cost to do a starter? He said, on this car, it's gonna cost quite a bit. I don't remember the number he gave me, but it was ridiculous. He said, the absolute only way to do the starter on this car is to remove the whole intake. I said, okay. Man, I wish I remember the number he gave me, but I don't. So I asked him, I kind of put him on the spot, and I said, what about taking off the radiator fans? If I did it myself, I said, if I took the fans off, do you think I'd be able to have enough room? And he laughed, and he said, absolutely not. He said, how do you say it? I can't believe people think that they could do it when the starter's in that position just by taking off the radiator fan. Well, this starter's already in. It's a brand new starter, and that's exactly how I did it. There's a few more things you got to take off. Sorry about the wind. So remember, I'm no mechanic. All right, I can do brakes and you know, maybe oil changes or whatever, but that's about it. You know, I'm no. What's up, bub? My neighbor. All right, I'm back. That was my neighbor. Cool guy. He's all, you know, always talking to me about cars, trucks, mowers, power equipment. So yeah, like I said, that starter is brand new. I already installed it, but I'm having a problem with the electrical. Sometimes I have to jiggle the wires to get it going, so I want to re-clean the plugs, the male and female, and just make sure it's tight and nice and good. So that's what we're going to do. All right, so for starters, and by the way, I'm not giving anyone advice on how to do this. I'm just showing you how I did it. For starters, we're messing with the electrical, and we're going to disconnect the battery. Now, I'm sure you could just disconnect the negative and be just fine, but if you're anything like me, getting electrocuted just didn't make your schedule for the day. So I'm going to disconnect negative and positive and make sure they're out of the way. Tighten that back up a little bit. Don't need that far off. Make sure they're out of the way. Put the negative over here. Positive over here. All right. We're gonna take this air intake off, take that one off, and you also got to disconnect this little hose right here. In some vehicles, you probably don't even have to disconnect that, but I want everything out of the way, so we're just gonna do that. Okay, put that in the car as to not lose anything. Put that up here. Put the screws here. This is gonna be to cover up the radiator. When you know, you're going to be working with metal tools right by your radiator, so you know, you're going to want to make sure you don't put nothing through it. I don't think a radiator can really take a real hard hit from anything, you know. Let's see if we can adjust this. Here we go. Okay, this one's right here. You definitely don't take these too far off. Don't want to lose anything. loosen that one up a little bit more. Okay. And you can use a ratchet for all this stuff. Just trying to make it a little bit quicker. And also, if you were driving your car, don't be touching these radiator hoses until it's cooled down. You will regret it. All right, that's off. Everything is still on there. You know, hardware wise. All right, next we're going to be taking off the radiator fan. The fan that I was told is impossible to do this job by just taking this off. So now it's pretty much impossible to install this backwards, but I see it was taken off. I noticed it when I did my starter. Someone had taken this off at one point, and there's arrows pointing to which way it goes. You can't put it on backwards. It won't it won't go in. So just know that you can only put this on, you know, on one way. 2 screws here, and everything I've done so far is 10 millimeter heads. This clamp for the radiator hose is connected to the fan. Okay, put that in the car. Know where all our hardware is. Don't want to lose anything. I hate when I'm working on something and I'll set a screw or a bolt down, you know, somewhere along the ledge, and then you're doing something and boom, you take it out. So all right, now we're going to disconnect the fan's power. This is kind of hard to do. I think everything in cars, you know, when they plug it in, they want it to be hard. You know, that way it doesn't easily come unplugged. Get you right there. So I had problems disconnecting this. Okay. Damn, missed it again. Right there. That's the plug. Make sure that's okay. You're not going to hit it. You're not going to do nothing to hurt it. And when you take this out, if you're not taking off this radiator hose, you know, be careful, especially on the older cars. You know, this thing is constantly being heated up, so it's definitely not as strong as it once was, I'm assuming. And you don't want nothing on this fan to cut that. All the way at the bottom on both sides, you can't see it, it's right there. And on this side, you got to reach down there, push the clips, you know, in order to get it out. So got to reach down here, find that clip, where'd it go? Can't see it. It's right there. Yep, right there. Okay. Okay. Yeah, you push that clip and give it a little pull. Same thing on the other side. This one's a little harder to get to because of that. So maybe go through the front, being careful, of course. Boom. And then we take the fan out, being careful of the hoses. Fan's out. And again, if you were just driving your car, you shouldn't be doing this yet anyway, because your radiator hoses are going to be hot. Now this radiator hose, pull, this is what I do at least. I mean, I'm not saying it's the greatest thing to do, but kind of want it out of the way, so I put it on the other side of the transmission dipstick and just make sure it's not being cut or damaged. Right there. Now you have access to your 2 bolts for the starter, you know, so you can get it off. Damn it, keep messing up this. So for this car, if you can see it, there's a bolt, here's a bolt. That will get your starter off, but it's not that easy under the intake, and you're not going to see it. So here's your intake. If you reach up under here, right here, you're going to feel a bracket. That bracket has 4 bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Without getting that bracket off, you're not getting your starter out. You can get it disconnected, but you are not getting it out, I promise you. And I think they are 12mm bolts. Yeah, they are. They're 12mm bolts to get your starter off. So let me find that 12mm and I'll be right back to you. All right, for getting that bracket out, your ratchet and extension in the 12mm is going to be what helps you. But again, you are going to be close to the radiator. Block it up. All right, so I got the 4 bolts out for the bracket. Okay, the bracket is right here. You can see it moving around. But your wiring for your starter is actually clipped to it right there. You can see it, it's right there. So you could probably force it out, get it unplugged, or just wait till you have your starter out and then undo it, which that's what I'm gonna do to be safe. So this bolt, and the starter's gonna now come straight out. Make sure, I don't actually have a braking bar with me because I'm a genius. You're gonna want one. The closest thing I have, you know, because when you're a genius like me, you don't bring everything you need. So I'm gonna use the top of my 4-way, the smallest one you have, right here. And like I already said, when you're doing this, cover up the radiator with anything, because one slip and you're going right through your radiator. All right, so again, there's only 2 bolts and they're diagonal from each other. Right there, right there. Get that going and then I'll get back to you. All right, and if you're working on this identical car, the starter bolts, I believe, are 14mm. You see, yes, they're 14mm. There and there. All right, let's get this off. All right, something to be ready for on this particular vehicle is the bottom bolt for the starter. This size socket, this length, will not work because you cannot get in between that starter bolt and here. There's just not enough room. So this would be ideal time to get a different length socket, maybe even half of that size, and it's going to work. In my case, just gonna have to use this, and it's going to be good enough. Same thing I had to do when I actually changed the starter. You know, I wasn't going to go buy a whole different socket set just for this one bolt. So one more bolt to get out and the starter will be coming free. All right, the starter is free. These are the bolts. Now when you're taking the second bolt off, pretty much the whole time, reach your other hand up under there. I'm smoking because I'm taking a break. Reach your other hand up under there and hold the starter until you can set it down somewhere secure. All right, you don't want it flopping around, damaging something, or the starter, well, well, if it's your old starter, you know, you don't want it damaging anything else. So put the bolts away where I know they're secure, with all the other bolts right there. I know everything is right there. Now also right here, you can see the wiring for the starter is zip tied right here. If that's not giving you ability to get it out, you just cut that off and then you re-zip tie it with a new zip tie to where it goes. Let's see if this one will come out without me cutting that. So reach up under here, get that bracket. There's the bracket right there. Let me get this so you can see it better. Guess that'll help, huh? There's the bracket coming out first. There's the starter right behind it. Everything's coming out. Watch your radiator. Protect it. And there's your starter. Come on. Okay. Now right here, you can do the work you need to do. See if we can get it out a little bit more. Okay. All right, so you can actually replace your starter from right here. All right. I need to post mine up somewhere so I can unplug this electrical. Let me check this. That's nice and tight on there. That should be getting a good good connection. This has to be the reason that mine isn't getting the connection right here. It's in there, but it's a little loose. It really shouldn't be loose. Everything looks good in there. Oh, sorry. I'm assuming that seal should be there. So I'm going to clean that connector out. I'm going to make sure that that's tight, which it is, but why not double check it? That's nice and tight. So I'm going to clean this out and see if I can't get a little bit of a better connection on it. So this is your starter completely removed. Like I said, this is a brand new starter and it works fine. Like I said, I'm just having a problem with that connection, which has to be right there where that red seal is at. This is all good. That's good. So it has to be just right there where that red seal is. So that's okay. I cleaned it out. I'll get a good connection on it. But anyway, the whole point of this video was if you have a similar setup to this and you know your mechanic is telling you he's got to charge you your firstborn child and you know $1 million because he has to take the intake off, and you know if you're somewhat mechanically inclined, which I'm just barely mechanically inclined, I would give it a shot before you go and give them $1,000 or however much you know they're gonna want for it. So all right, I'm gonna get this put back together. All right guys, time to start putting it all back together. What I did was I took the starter off and I re-cleaned the male plug, made sure there was no corrosion, no dirt. I didn't see anything like that, but I re-cleaned it, plugged it back in. But let me tell you what I didn't do the first time when I switched the starter. The main plug, which is, it's the round part, it goes over the screw thread from the starter, just like this. Let's say this is the starter bolt coming out. You put it over here and then you nut it. You put a nut, you know, tighten it back on. I have no idea how I didn't do it, but I did not clean off that part, and I didn't clean, you know, wire brush the corrosion. There wasn't a lot, but there was enough that it could affect the starter receiving the spark. So, and of course I rechecked the fuses and the relays. So everything's cleaned a lot better than what it was. put it back together and see what happens. All right, I got the starter reseated. One thing is probably pretty important. You want to make sure that starter is seated perfectly, right? So it's grounded internally, okay, where it runs into the transmission. So don't put one bolt all the way on and then move to the next. I put one bolt in, hand tightened it as much as it would take, then I put the other one in, hand tightened it as much as it would take, and then I even counted how many turns I did. You know, 5 turns, 5 turns, 5 turns, 5 turns, and I went back and forth, and I made sure that thing went in there as evenly and as perfectly as I could. You know, you don't want that anyway not correct, or tighten too hard on one side and, you know, not the other. So just a little tip, I don't know, it helped me, so I thought it'd help you. All right, so I just got the bracket back in under the intake. Now that bracket, putting it back in, it's going to be the hardest part about this job. Little tip: go under the car, take off that plastic protectant, fold it down, and then you can see the 2 holes on the bottom of the intake. So you take that bracket, you line it up for the back 2 holes so you know it's sitting right, and then start your 2 top intake holes, then come back up top and start your 2 back screws, bolts. That way you know all 4 are in. Then again, put your extension on, cover up your radiator just like when you took it out, and tighten those bolts down. Now all you got to do, put the top back together. All right, everything's put back together now. The I don't know, the wiring, there could be a short in it. I had to mess around with the wiring, but that's all right. At least I know all the connections are clean. You know, the car's starting. The old starter was completely shot, so all the connectors are clean. It's put back together correctly. I'm gonna put some zip ties onto the wiring and just pull it a little bit away from the starter, just so it has, you know, so it's nice and tight, and it'll be fine. But yeah, for the mechanics telling you got to give them $1 million because they got to take the intake off, that's not true. Shut it off. All right, guys.